Hey everyone, Geo here and welcome back to another video. So today, welcome to r/EntitledParents. Now, this first story is messed up, honestly. I don't know how many stories I'm going to put in here, but this first story kind of aggravates me. So it's called Karen Takes Her Dog into a Store, Claims It's a Therapy Dog for Her Kid. Obligatory long-time lurker. First-time poster, never thought I'd see this in the real world. Delete if not right, etc, etc. My mom and I, 19 female, 41 female, had our weekly Saturday workout today and decided afterwards to go into the store, Walmart, where all the crazies go, to pick up some snacks and groceries. After we got there though, we ran into our entitled family of the story. Though more accurately, the entitled mother, Karen, who's in her 40s, and her 3 kids, Jack, Sabrina, and Tommy. And last but certainly not least, their small dog, maybe a Papillon or something, I don't know. If you didn't know, most stores in the US don't allow dogs inside unless they're service animals. At this particular store though, no one can actually come up and ask you if your dog is a service animal, and they have to just let you go. The only rule they otherwise have is that dogs aren't allowed in the baskets, the big part of the cart, since people put food there. This, of course, is where the problem starts. As my mom and I were leaving the meat section to go to the dairy section, we run into our first encounter with Karen and her family. Both of her kids, Jack and Sabrina, are standing off to the side, looking extremely embarrassed, while their little brother Tommy is just standing there looking a bit bored. Karen is standing there yelling at and insulting an employee. The reason was interacting with his employee in the first place was because their dog's sitting in the basket of the cart. Every time the employee tried to explain to Karen that dogs aren't allowed to sit in the basket of the cart, Karen kept biting back, saying that her dog was a service animal. While all of this is happening, myself, my mom, and everyone else in the store is rubbernecking and staring at this woman. So many people watching that there was a small traffic jam in the meat and dairy section of the store. Eventually though, Karen lets out and puts her purse in the actual designated seating area on the cart for her dog to sit on, yelling at her kids to help her this entire time. But I wouldn't be writing this if it was the end of the story. By the time my mom and I are done shopping, we had an entirely full cart, even needing an extra one for us to transfer groceries into. And lo and behold, can you guess who was standing by the self-checkout? We see and hear Karen yelling at an employee, demanding the manager because another employee was acting very disrespectfully to me. All 3 employees by the self-checkout ended up on the radio paging their manager. Let's call her Amanda. And she showed to a huffing Karen. Now this is where it gets interesting. Karen is standing there, half screaming at the manager, telling her that your employee was very rude to me, and your employee called me stupid, and other things that I didn't 100% hear that fell into the same category. All of this, of course, wasn't true. She was only referring to the incident by the meat and dairy department, and from what I had heard, the employee was just calmly trying to explain to her that she couldn't have her dog in the basket. That's it. No insults. No implying that the dog wasn't a service dog. Nothing. My mom even ended up telling me that after the woman left, she would want to talk to the manager and explain what she had seen to make sure the employee didn't get into trouble. Of course, this is not where the craziness ends. Since my mom was the one bagging all the groceries, I was eavesdropping to see if there was anything interesting that Karen said. And there was. Something that shocked me, to be honest. Karen tried to argue that the reason her dog was in the store was because someone in her family was autistic, and the dog was some form of therapy dog. Therapy dogs are also not allowed in the store, only trained service dogs. Common knowledge, really. Now, I'm not going to say that I know everything about autism, but I have 2 younger brothers who are 12 and 13 who are both pretty low mid functioning autistic. And I know even more kids with autism from different birthday parties and school board meetings I've been to. I want to say that because I have never heard of an autism service dog until now. There is no such thing as an autism service dog, let me tell you that. Autism service dogs are a real thing though. Oh, I'm wrong. Anyway, so it was almost willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, and I actually paid attention to her kids. Again, not exclaiming I'm an expert of autism or anything, but none of her kids were acting in a way that would imply that any of them had autism. Both Jack and Sabrina, two teenagers, looked incredibly embarrassed and scared as their mom talked. Both of them ended up hiding in their sweatshirts, standing a few feet away from her. I also paid attention to the youngest boy, Tommy. The entire time, Karen was yelling at the manager, Amanda. Tommy was off to the side, filling with the pickpockets of his sweatshirt and walking around the cart. And again, I don't know everything about autism, but from my brothers and the about 8+ other autistic kids I've ever met, they would be freaking out in a situation like this. They won't just be standing off to the side twiddling their thumbs. They would probably be honestly upset and be trying to leave or having a complete meltdown or at least hiding behind their parent. As an autistic person myself, I probably did that when I was a kid, but I grew out of that. Even ignoring that, if any of their kids were autistic, no one else was watching them. There was no father at the store, and none of the kids were paying attention to each other, and neither was their mother. Is there a possibility that we're higher functioning? Yes. But you don't come to the store with a dog that you claim is a service animal, without a leash, without a harness, and without any form of service dog identification. Yell at the staff because they ask you to take the dog out of the basket of the cart, and then demand a manager and lie about what the employee who talked to you said. Eventually, Karen and her posse stormed off into the women's section, and my mom went to tell the manager what she had seen, and apparently many other people went up to talk to her too. I have no idea what else has happened to them, or if anything will happen because of this. My mom intends to stay on Facebook to see what pops up there. As we were leaving, a thought came to my head. I don't know if I came up with it or heard of it somewhere, but I think it fits here. Don't use a disability to substitute your own inability to be a good person. I love that, OP. I love that. Even when her kids were disabled in some way, she didn't have any right to be such a horrible, entitled person to the staff. That is so true. That is so true. Okay, this is the second story of this video. Just because I go here doesn't mean you can just corner and question me. So, I go to college in Boston, and these are constant tours here, and lots of people around campus that are not students. People are usually polite and ask where something is, which I'm happy to help them with. However, I am not your damn tour guide. I would also like to preface this by saying that the school I go to isn't a big preppy school. People are constantly leaving and coming back for co-op and study abroad, etc. It's more independent and just not the kind of school where it's appropriate to corner students. The other day, I had just left my apartment to go grocery shopping, so keep in mind I'm carrying a bunch of reusable grocery bags, so it's pretty obvious I'm going somewhere. I'm walking and I see this woman and her daughter standing and talking. And as soon as I begin to walk past, the woman steps in front of me, cutting off my ability to walk. She asked if I'm a student, and I said yes. And she immediately starts throwing me questions. I am visibly uncomfortable, and this poor woman's child looks humiliated. At this point, I said, I'm not a tour guide. I'm sure they can answer all your questions. This woman replies that tour guides don't give honest answers, and she wants real students' perspectives. This goes on for like 15 minutes. She asks me a question. I give a short answer and say that there's people she can ask in the student center and that I'm busy. This woman said, "You could take a few minutes to help out a prospective student." Actually, some of us are busy or simply don't want to be bombarded with questions. I finally just started to walk away, and this woman steps in front of me to block me so she can keep talking. Finally, I said, "There are people you can ask. I didn't sign up to be a tour guide. I have somewhere to be. Please let me get by." She gets angry and calls me rude and says I should be more welcoming to prospective students and that I should be happy people want to learn more about the school. Like, yeah, please do learn. It's just not my job to tell you. I just push past the woman and she continues yelling and trying to block me. I can still hear her ranting until I turn the corner. Some parents are so entitled. So PSA, just because someone is a student somewhere doesn't mean they're obligated to be your tour guide. Couldn't have said it better myself. Okay, now, I promise that this is the last story of the video. Entitled Mother at the Airport. I swear, there is nothing worse than a mother at an airport. Coming back from Cuba, and I noticed this family right away at the Verdadero airport because they were loud, and the mother had a perma scowl. Probably why she looked like she was in her late 60s than in mid-40s, which is probably more accurate. Getting on the plane, we're pushing everyone in line as they try to move forward. Because, you know, the plane with the assigned seating will definitely leave without them if they don't get on first. The mother in question was sitting in the row behind me, but across the aisle. At one point, I could feel someone staring at me, so I looked back. And she was blatantly staring at me with the most disgusted look on her face. Probably because of my tattoos. Honestly, she seemed like the type. Whatever. Then we got off the plane. She tried to put past me instead of waiting her turn, but of course, I didn't let her because of plane etiquette. Then, as we were going through the hall towards customs, she's frickin' running down the hall. Bitch face firmly in place and telling her kids to hurry. Because we're all not going at the same place? Of course, I get through customs before her, and I'm the first one at baggage claim because I did arrive, and I travel frequently. So I'm standing at the part of the baggage carousel where the bags start to come out, and suddenly I'm pushed to the side. It's EM, of course. I hold my tongue. Bags start coming out, and one gets stuck, and I go put it back on the carousel to help the owner, and I hear the loudest and rudest "Excuse me!" behind me. And she pushes me aside again to grab her kid's bag. Because the carousel wasn't huge, she just had to stand as close to me as possible. That's when I snapped. I just looked at her and said, "Wow!" Then she started yapping at me like an annoying little dog, saying how she is helping her kids and she was being polite. I just retorted, and she clearly hates her life. She obviously is the type of person who screams at customer service employees. She keeps going, and she's giving me a headache and not worth my time, so I just said, "Honey, you just need to shut your mouth right now." She did not like that one. She liked it even less, and I started laughing at her. I could tell she was definitely a bitch and is never calm on her behavior. My bag came before the rest of hers, and I left her there yapping like a little annoying chihuahua she is. The best part is that neither her husband nor her teenage children stood up for her. Her husband looked exhausted by her behavior. Parents, if traveling causes you to be a bitchy, annoying chihuahua, don't do it. Leave the rest of us in peace, please. Whew. That was an amazing story, I'll be honest. But that's it. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to click or tap that like button and subscribe for more, and follow me on my Instagram. And don't forget to turn on those post notifications too. Love you all to death. Don't forget to stay positive to the Pride Land's End. Bye.